We're going to begin today's episode with conservatives bringing back cancel culture. Time is a flat circle. It's like we're back in 2016 when I first got involved in politics, where everything was cancel culture. Everybody was getting canceled. First, it was by liberals and SJWs, and now we've gone full circle. Conservatives are calling for the deplatforming of prominent media people who don't sufficiently glaze Charlie Kirk after his death. They are going after folks in the private sector who don't sufficiently praise Charlie Kirk on their Instagrams and getting them fired from their jobs. These people are babies. They're fucking snowflakes. They are feeble minded little heads who, at the slightest inconvenience, throw a fucking meltdown. When I originally saw this reporting, I thought maybe what Jimmy Kimmel said was a little bit over the top because I hadn't seen the clip until it got reported that he was losing his show. It was the most lukewarm take possible. We're going to watch it. We're going to watch Sean Hannity react to it, but all I will say in the beginning is this. If you are offended by what Jimmy Kimmel said in this clip, you're a pussy. This is like if you were to go to the supermarket, walk down the bread aisle, and freak out that there was rye bread. It is the most lukewarm fucking statement that he could have put out. He didn't even say anything bad about Charlie Kirk. I thought it was like Jimmy Kimmel came out and said, fuck Charlie Kirk. He had it coming. But but no, that's not what he said. All he said was, hey, maybe Tyler Robinson is potentially a Republican. Regardless of what he said, he's still entitled to his opinion. His show should not have been canned just because what he said was perceived as offensive, and I'm alluding to Dave Portnoy's ridiculous justification of this. But as I said, we're going to look at this from the conservative angle because conservatives have always practiced cancel culture. They don't give a about free speech. They don't give a about the exchanging of ideas. They do not give a about battling in the marketplace and seeing whose ideology is better. No, they want a totalitarian state where what they say is gospel. Republican politics now has been reduced to everything that Republicans say is good, everything that Democrats say is bad. There is no room for discourse. There is no room to debate the validity of your ideas. Those days are gone.
First, tonight, we do have major breaking news to bring you. ABC is pulling Jimmy Kimmel off the air indefinitely over his controversial comments about Charlie Kirk's assassination. ABC's decision came after Nexstar and soon to be announced Sinclair would be announcing that they would stop airing Kimmel's program. That's a big chunk of Kimmel's stations around the country. Earlier today, the FCC chairman, Brendan Carr, who will join us in a moment, threatened action against Disney and ABC over this comment that Kimmel made on Monday, labeling the alleged Charlie Kirk assassin as a MAGA. Take a look.
We had some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it.
That is just objectively true. The about face from so many prominent Republicans, once it was found out that Tyler Robinson wasn't an out and about Marxist Leninist, was that he was a lone wolf who needed to be saved by God. This young man needs Jesus in his life. And still to this day, a week, 8 days after the assassination of Charlie Kirk, we still cannot pin down this young man's politics. We still cannot pin down what his motive was. There is texts that say, oh, he spreads hate, and I don't like how much hate he spreads. But we don't know the validity of any of this. We don't know if this guy was a groiper who didn't like Charlie Kirk because he wasn't right-wing enough. What's really rich about this entire situation is that all of the Republicans, all of the people who are championing this, are the same people who in 2016 went after SJWs and liberals for trying to promote cancel culture. Republicans now are like, actually, hang on, let me get into character for this. I hate that fucking libtard Jimmy Kimmel. What do you mean that he's on his program? He's on his program not sufficiently dick sucking the deceased. This is a flagrant violation of the First Amendment, aka the my feelings are hurt amendment. I don't believe that there should be anybody on TV, online, who has an opinion different from myself. And I say this as someone who greatly values having conversations with people that I disagree with. But keep in mind that if you disagree with me, I will advocate for your cancellation. I will advocate to have your show taken off the air, even though, once again, this is a very, very, very lukewarm thing that this individual said. Like, I don't understand how you can come to this conclusion. And yes, I'm going to keep the cowboy hat on for a couple more minutes. Let's continue, because the clip it gets so much let's just watch it.
Not funny and fake news. Sadly, this was not the only vile comment about the Charlie Kirk assassination. On Monday night, Kimmel made this disgusting remark about President Trump's grief over the assassination. Take a look.
This is not how an adult grieves the murder of someone he called a friend. This is how a 4-year-old mourns a goldfish, okay?
They're going to come after me because I just posted a video talking about how Donald Trump is not showing he's not showing the appropriate response to his friend getting murdered. He was asked how he's holding up with the passing of his friend during a media scrum outside of the White House, and he said, "I'm doing very well. And you see that ballroom over there? That's my doing. They've been trying to do it for 200 years. They've been trying to do it for 150 years, but only I was able to do it." He then later on and said that he's going to Charlie Kirk's funeral because he has he feels there's an obligation to go to his funeral. And I drew on personal experience from when my friend passed away, or when really anybody that you care for, that you love. I don't know if Donald Trump loved Charlie Kirk, but he might have. When a dear friend of yours, someone who you were seemingly close with, passes away, there is no such thing as an obligation to go to their viewing. You want to go. Whenever a loved one or someone close to me has passed away, I've never felt obligated to go to the wake or to the service. I've wanted to go, not only to grieve and to get closure, but to be there for my friends and family who are also mourning the loss of this person. That's the issue here. But Donald Trump is a psychopathic narcissist who is incapable of showing any emotion at any time. He's incapable of caring for anybody other than himself. This is all lukewarm. Like, they're going to come for me. I'm going to make it onto Fox News in this cowboy hat, and they're going to write to the CEO of YouTube to take my fucking channel down.
I've been calling out Jimmy Kimmel's reprehensible comments and dialogue for years now. You know, like this one that he made mocking the First Lady, who speaks 6 languages, Melania Trump, in 2018. You might recall. Take a look.
I want to really thank the First Lady, Melania, who has done an incredible job. She worked so hard on this event, and so I want to thank you.
Yeah. It's not a chance she did one thing to help set that up. There's no... She didn't die egg. She didn't feel bad. The only thing she's been working on is an escape tunnel. No White House Easter celebration would be complete without story time from our First Lady.
Never stop exploring, because
the irony is, like, you cannot write satire better than this. They're mad at Jimmy Kimmel for making fun of Melania Trump and her multilinguistic prowess. Meanwhile, Charlie Kirk has clips online floating around of him saying that black women do not have the brain processing power to land these high profile positions like Ketanji Brown Jackson did and like Michelle Obama did. He's saying that they are effectively DEI hires. He said that Joe Biden should have gotten the death penalty for treason. This outrage is so manufactured. Everything that came out of Charlie Kirk's mouth is far more reprehensible. I'm taking this shit off. It's hurting my head. It is far more reprehensible than whatever the Jimmy Kimmel said. And you don't see me arguing or advocating before Charlie Kirk passed away to take his show down. No, this is not, I don't believe in that. I don't believe in silencing somebody because they hurt your feelings or because they said something that was offensive. Obviously, there is a line to be drawn. Obviously, I'm talking specifically about like the TOS of certain social media platforms, and at that point they have an obligation to take down like hate speech, racist speech inciting violence. That's an entirely different conversation. But just based off of like statements, I don't believe that someone should be deplatformed for just being like quote unquote offensive or rude. If we're basing rudeness, if we're putting rudeness into the rubric, I am
Life would be boring. Be clever and curious, just like a cat. Ask lots of questions about this and that.
About these and that.
Kimmel's recent vile remarks about Charlie Kirk's assassination, it should come as no surprise given his lengthy history of mocking conservatives, Republicans, never-ending Trump bashing, which is why his ratings sucked. Take a look.
We definitely know who wins Time's Sexiest Alleged Murderer of the Year. That would go to Luigi Mangione, the suspect in the shooting of the CEO of United Healthcare, who's become the hottest cold-blooded killer in America. Let's be honest, it was a terrible night last night. It was a terrible night for women, for children, for the hundreds of thousands of hardworking immigrants who make this country go, for healthcare, for our climate, for science, for journalism, for justice, for free speech. It was a terrible night for poor people, and it was a terrible night for everyone who voted against him. And guess what? It was a bad night for everyone who voted for him, too. You just don't realize it yet. Tesla stock is way...
He didn't even say anything wrong. Everything he said there was correct. Donald Trump has fucked up the United States in 8 months. And the last thing he said was especially prescient. I'm saying this as someone who doesn't even really like Jimmy Kimmel, okay? He's a little bit too libbed up for me. But he was 100% correct when he said that it was a bad night for even the people who voted for him. They just don't know it yet. Because when you have a fascist administration, which the Donald Trump administration is, they will stop at nothing to silence all forms of dissent. At first, they came for the socialists, and I said nothing. And then they went after the communists, and I said nothing. That's what we're looking at here. You can praise mass deportation. You can get riled up and horny over pro-Palestinian protesters being arrested, detained, and deported in some instances. But it is going to affect your life personally at some point. And the minute that you speak out against it, even as potentially a Republican and someone in the MAGA base, pack your Marco Rubio is going to take your passport too. Fascism and fascists are incapable of having their lust for power satiated. They will only stand with people who offer them unwavering support. That is what we're looking at with the Trump administration. And people like Sean Hannity are safe because guess what? They are in Olympic level Trump dick rider. And guess what? Someone like Sean Hannity has the financial means to weather the impending economic collapse. Do you think that people living around the poverty line, people working for minimum wage in all of these Trump states are going to be able to deal with the recession that Donald Trump is inevitably going to create? To this day, the cost of goods are still increasing. The prices of energy are still increasing. Your rent is not getting cheaper. He's not putting any more money in your pocket. You still are getting ripped off by your healthcare company. Your employer still does not offer you adequate benefits. You're working 40, 50, 60 hours a week for $8, $9, $10 an hour in some instance. But at least the libs are owned and Jimmy Kimmel no longer has a television show.
Down, almost disastrously so. People have been vandalizing Tesla vehicles, new Tesla vehicles. Please don't vandalize. Don't ever vandalize Tesla vehicles. And so Elon Musk has been making the rounds in the right-wing media to try to appear to be a human being. Everyone gets all worked up. Here's the thing. Donald Trump will never die. Forget it. He's like Dracula. He's going to keep sucking the life out of us forever.
Now, President Trump, he did react to this news on Truth Social, writing in part, quote, "Great news for America. The ratings challenge Jimmy Kimmel's show is canceled. Congratulations to ABC for finally having the courage to do what had to be done. Kimmel has zero talent and worse ratings than even Colbert, if that's possible." Now, the left already starting with...
Oh, read that second part, Sean. The part where he says, "That leaves Jimmy and Seth, two total losers on fake news NBC. Their ratings are also horrible. Do it, NBC, President DJT." You're just going to not talk about our freakazoid president actively once again lobbying for the cancellations of shows hosted by individuals who criticize him? I mean, I'm surprised like that Seth Meyers wasn't the first one, because everything I've seen from Seth Meyers, he was like far more combative than all of the other like mainstream late night television hosts. Like, this is psycho, dude. The president is actively trying to erase dissenting voices from the media, and the media companies are obliging. And I have smoke for them as well, which I will unleash at the conclusion of this clip.
Humpty Dumpty, fake news, CNN, J.B. Pritzker, Gavin Newsom, predictably claiming this is conservative censorship. The MAGA crowd, Donald Trump got Jimmy Kimmel. That is false. I can't find a single prominent conservative voice in the country that even remotely wanted or hoped or was pushing to get Jimmy Kimmel taken off the air. Nobody. It just was simple. People changed the channel. They didn't.
Yeah, but yet you can say that, and here you are championing this decision. You're the issue here. You're the issue here, Sean Hannity. You're watching censorship unfold and not pushing back against it. You don't give a about free speech. You don't give a about the expression of ideas. You like cancel culture. Republicans, all of the things that they criticize, they actually like. They poke fun, or they say that America is the land of the free and we love democracy. Meanwhile, Trump is trying to make himself a dictator, and not a single one of these dick eaters has anything to say about it. They spent 9 years, almost a goddamn decade, railing against cancel culture, and here they are participating in it and saying, well, actually, maybe Jimmy Kimmel deserved it because he said something lukewarm about Charlie Kirk. Give me a break. Oh, and by the way, this is conservative censorship. Do you know why? Because reporting from Rolling Stone has indicated that the individuals, I think it was the either executives at ABC or the CEO of Nexstar, pushed to cancel this show, not because they felt that Jimmy Kimmel said anything out of line, but because they feared retaliation from the president. You're going to look me in my face and tell me that Donald Trump is not actively trying to censor people in prominent media positions? Now it's a free speech issue because the president is directly involved. And it's still wrong. And conservatives are like, we love the First Amendment. I love the First Amendment so much that I named my first child First Amendment because I love free speech. His name is First Amendment Free Speech Johnson because I'm just such a lover of our Bill of Rights, except when a dirty Democrat, a limp libtard, comes around and says something that I don't like. But then I don't like. It's so fucking silly.
Not one person can I think of. Maybe there's one, but I can't think of them. Now, truth be told, Jimmy Kimmel's show was failing spectacularly. I've seen the ratings. They're awful. His ratings are far below even that of Stephen Colbert, who was canceled. Now, why, you ask? This is supposed to be a late-night comedy show. It has become nothing more than nonstop, never-ending hate Donald Trump. That's the show. As
Conservatives fundamentally don't like comedy because they like when comedy punches down, not up. Conservatives like when comedians make fun of marginalized groups like black people, trans people, gay people, immigrants. Comedy is not about that. Comedy is about poking fun at those who are higher social status. It is about being on the side of the 99%. When you make comedy about the president, you are well within your right to do that. The president is like the most influential person on the planet, but Sean Hannity would rather Jimmy Kimmel make fun of Tyler Robinson's trans partner. He would rather him make fun of immigrants getting rounded up by ICE, not the president. God forbid.
a result, the ratings have been in the sewer. It has been spiraling downwards for years. And once the ratings go down, revenues go down as well. They go hand in hand. In other words, Jimmy Kimmel simply failed at his job. He lost his audience, then he lost revenue, and then stations, groups, they had enough after this comment, about a husband and father of two. They said enough's enough. Low ratings, no money. What's the point? And that is the predictable outcome in television.
This goes so hard if you shut your brain off. Any person with literally who's able to dedicate 1% of their brain power to think critically would ask, well, it's mighty convenient that his show got canceled after he made a comment about Charlie Kirk. If the ratings have been that bad for that long and ABC and Disney were losing so much money, why didn't they cancel his show earlier? What is Sean Hannity's response to that? There is none. There is none, because he knows deep down that, yeah, this is cancel culture. The president got involved, but again, he's a dick eater. He's not gonna dissent against the fascist Trump regime.
There's no pressure group outside that was pushing for Jimmy Kimmel to be silenced. I'm sure he'll end up having a platform somewhere. He'll have a podcast. He'll be able to curse on everything. My understanding is most station groups were just fed up with his show. First, the TV group Nexstar, followed by the TV group Sinclair, telling Disney they don't want the show anymore. It's not working for them. They can't sell it. It's not getting ratings. And my understanding, it's going to be replaced with Steve Harvey's Celebrity Family Feud. Actually, is a good show and funny, much funnier than Kimmel. Given Kimmel's disastrous ratings, history of crass commentary, lack of any humor, chasing away more than half the country, vile attacks on people he disagrees with politically, is not a shock. He did this to himself.
He's describing Republican media, too. It's so funny. Vile commentary against people he disagrees with. But yet, when some bald dipshit hosts a speech at Madison Square Garden and calls all Democrats low-life scumbags and Jew haters, that's not vile commentary against people you disagree with. But Jimmy Kimmel saying that maybe Tyler Robinson was potentially a MAGA Republican. Like, they're just such babies, man. They're such pussies. They get so bent out of shape over the most innocuous thing. If you don't like what Jimmy Kimmel says, shut the TV off. Change the channel. You have free will. Utilize it. I don't like anything that any conservative commentator says. And yet you don't see me advocating for them to be deplatformed. I just don't watch Ben Shapiro. Well, sometimes I do when I'm, making fun of him. I'm not watching Ben Shapiro in my free time. I'm not watching Sean Hannity in my free time. I got better things to do than watch these little snowflakes bitch and moan about Jimmy Kimmel being crass and mean and offensive.
Nobody pushed. He jumped. And remember, this is Brendan Carr said to podcaster Betty Johnson today, quote, "What people don't understand is broadcasters are entirely different than people who use other forms of communication. They have a license granted by us at the FCC, and what comes with it is an obligation to operate in the public interest."
Remember when Fox News perpetuated the lie and the propaganda that Old Dominion and their voting machines were not reliable and then were forced to pay out $787 million in this lawsuit? Is that not, does that not go against an obligation to operate in public interest? They have correspondence between the media personalities and the executives at Fox News saying that they were going to lean even more into propaganda related to the elections being fraudulent and stop the steal. But it's because they're on the side of the administration that he turns a blind eye to it.
My perspective, it's frankly amazing his show lasted this long. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click.
Wow, really strong condemnation and really strong support of free speech there, Sean Hannity. I'm glad that you, as a media person, recognize the severity of the precedent that is being set here. Now we're going to hear from another demon, FCC chair, what's his name? Brendan Carr, who says we're not done yet after Jimmy Kimmel's suspension by ABC. This is on CNBC, mind you, that he's having this.
I want to come back to where we started the conversation.
That he's having
Kimmel,
this discussion.
And your contention, perhaps, that these shows do lose money. We just did a quick look. I mean, the show is supposed to be profitable, Chairman. Not necessarily on advertising revenue, as you note, given ratings, but affiliate revenue, carriage deals, YouTube viewership apparently quite high. Again, I guess I just push back on the idea that these companies are keeping these shows on the air to score political points somehow, as opposed to because they think they actually make them money.
Look, we know for sure with more data coming out on Colbert that they were losing money. Happy to take a look more at Kimmel. Obviously, the ratings are where they are. They've been going through the floor. But again, this is a decision for local broadcast TV stations to make. Right. Are they going to lose their own advertisers because people don't want to be associated with that Kimmel?
Again, they did this because they feared retaliation from the Trump administration and because all of these liberals, I don't even know if they're liberals, but they're fucking losers regardless. They fear retaliation from the president, which is the way that a lot of institutions have gone thus far. Really, the only notable institution, whether it's in business or academia, that has pushed back adequately against Donald Trump is Harvard. And guess what? They've been collecting W's against Donald Trump. This is bad because these institutions have the power, the legal power, and the finances available to push back against the president. Normal people do not. Normal people, if the government comes after them, have no recourse. They're not able to do anything. And it's much easier to go after the little man once you've already tied up all of these executives. Just to touch on capitalism for a second as well. These companies don't give a about politics. This conversation is rendered irrelevant when you realize that companies exist to make money. Certainly, folks within these companies have their political leanings, whether they be CEOs, executives, whether that be through donations, but a lot of the times major donors do tend to give to both parties because both parties will serve the interests of that corporation. Companies don't give a fuck about red or blue. They give a fuck about green. If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. But if something is making money for them, they are going to continue to create that product, produce that show. Again, it's mighty coincidental that Jimmy Kimmel's show gets taken off the air right after a bunch of right-wing pussies get their feelings hurt because he said, oh, maybe the shooter was MAGA. Give me a break, man.
Programming. Again, we're talking about varied parts of the country with different values, and I'm pleased that Nexstar and Sinclair are looking to their viewers and saying, our viewers don't want this, and so we're not going to run it anymore. So even if it is profitable, if the viewers don't want it, that's the ultimate judgment there.
That's so. Again, that's such a. This guy is so stupid. I'm convinced that everybody in the Trump administration is just. How is it possible that those two statements are true? That something is profitable and that viewers don't like it. This isn't Madden. This isn't 2K. Jimmy Kimmel Live, does not have an exclusivity deal on late night TV commentary. There are a myriad of individuals that people can go and watch if they don't like Jimmy Kimmel. They can watch Jimmy Fallon, Seth Meyers, John Oliver. If they prefer people who are unfunny and charismaless, they can watch Greg Gutfeld. Those two statements that this dipshit just said, they can't go together. If the viewers didn't like it, it would not be profitable. It's that simple. It's that simple. If the consumer did not like the iPhone, guess what? The iPhone would not be profitable. But it is profitable because people like it, and also because it's a duopoly.
Earlier about Fallon and Seth Meyers, but is the president's view that they should also be taken off the air, shared by the FCC?
Well, yeah, I don't speak for the president, so obviously, he speaks for himself on that. Our goal and our obligation here is to make sure that broadcasters are serving the public interest. And if there's local TV stations that don't think that running that programming does it, then they have every right under the law in their contracts to preempt it. And we'll see how this plays out. But I do think that, again, we're in the midst of a massive shift in dynamics in the media ecosystem for lots of reasons. Again, including the permission structure that President Trump's election has provided. And I would simply say we're not done yet with seeing the consequences of that shift.
Well, what does that mean when you say you're not?
This isn't something that we're going to touch on today, but this doesn't exclusively relate to legacy media. They're coming for new media as well, more specifically social platforms like Twitch, Reddit, and Discord, all of whose CEOs are going to, I think they're testifying or they're meeting with folks within the Trump administration. I apologize, I haven't read up too much on that story, but they're doing that because apparently those platforms are leading to the left-wing radicalization of people like Tyler Robinson, even though literally everything else to the contrary is true. Mass shooters who hang out on these platforms, namely Discord and Reddit, are often a part of far-right fringe groups where they are groomed to commit violence. Additionally, the majority of political violence is perpetuated by right-wingers, but I'm going on a tangent.
Done yet, then? I mean, will you only be pleased when none of these comedians have a show on broadcast television?
No, again, it's not about any particular show or any particular person. It's just we're in the midst of a very disruptive moment right now, and I just frankly expect that we're going to continue to see changes in the media ecosystem.
Oh, Chair Carr, I'm not sure I wanted to do this or not, but should
these people go on financial network interviews as a way to make it look like they're not crazy? Because generally, the viewers of these programs tend to be, how can I say this without sounding like a douchebag? They're not so ideologically aligned to either party. Like if you're watching financial television, you love capitalism and you love watching your 401k or your IRA go up. You're not like an MSNBC dick rider, nor are you a Fox News dick rider. And they're perceptive to this. Like, this guy's a fucking lunatic. He's a fucking lunatic. There's a shift in the media ecosystem, but it only applies to those who are critical of the president, not those who glaze the president.
the government have someone who reviews the writers before the host says something?
Let's go back. Let's because this is
changes in the media ecosystem.
Oh, Chair Carr, I'm not sure I wanted to do this or not, but should the government have someone who reviews the writers before the host says something?
No.
How would you be sure that the host is saying something that you would think is okay?
It's not up to me. The way this works is that the local broadcast station is supposed to be responsible for the content. So the check on that content is not the government. It's not me here at the FCC. It's your local TV station.
That's not even that. That's not even a fastball, right? It's not a gotcha question. The implication is that the government wants these late night talk show hosts, or the subtext of this question is that the government is looking like they want complete praise from these late night talk show hosts. And then this goober turns around and says, it's on the broadcaster to make sure that the content is appropriate. The broadcaster, as far as whether or not they can air this content, is mostly related to violence, like them not showing violence, mostly related to the host not saying one of the 7 deadly words that you're not allowed to say on TV. They're not looking for a political slant, right? Especially if they're a local news station. So he's just bullshitting. He's just bullshitting through this interview by making it look like I'm not crazy, you're crazy.
Station in Provo, Utah. It's your local TV station in Scranton. It's on them, under the law. They're responsible for the content. They're responsible for judging whether they think it's in the public interest or serves the needs of their local communities. Not for me to decide, but I'm very pleased that they feel empowered to stand up to Disney and Comcast in the appropriate cases.
Yeah. Chairman Carr, always appreciate you taking the time.
Stand up to Disney, as if Disney was not directly involved in this.